It is clear that this on Tibetans, and it isn't just the crackdown on Tibetans, but all across China, I think news has been cut off, is what I'm hearing. We feel for them in their time of struggle to regain their independence. And the Dalai Lama called it cultural genocide, I believe. And I think that's a soft word. As I understand it, more than 1 million people have been killed since 1959. So. But I'm really here.
Yeah, the Chinese. Sure, you want to talk about Dafur, and I do too. Just before we get on to that, though, the Chinese view is that Tibetans killed ethnic Han Chinese and that they are the victims of this peace. It's really a struggle, isn't it, for how China is perceived in the world, and you play a part in that struggle. Do you think China misunderstands the way it's perceived outside?
I'm not sure how China perceives itself at this moment, but it became clear well over a year ago that there was one thing that Beijing held more dear than their unfettered access to Sudanese oil, and this is their successful, untarnished staging of the Olympic Games. And while some have said that I personally have called for a boycott, I and my organization, Dream for Darfur, have decidedly not called for a boycott, but quite the opposite. See this time frame between now and the Olympic Games as a window of opportunity to persuade Khartoum to persuade Beijing to take a responsible position vis-a-vis their close business partner, Khartoum. And that means...
Have you seen any evidence at all that this is working, that you are being able to effect real pressure on China so that it is affecting change in Darfur?
Yes, actually. About a year ago, I, with my son, wrote a piece for the Wall Street Journal entitled Genocide Olympics. Within days, Beijing had responded, retaliating with furious letters to prestigious papers protesting the Olympic Games should not be politicized or connected with any atrocity. And on the favorable side, they, for the first time, did appoint an envoy to Darfur. And even more favorably, they did sign on to the newest UN resolution to provide 26,000 peacekeepers to the Darfur region. That was last July that resolution was passed and authorized, but as you probably know, only 9,000 have struggled into the region and are scarcely able to protect themselves, let alone the people of Darfur. So what we're asking...
And there has been continued violence in western Darfur. I mean, there are reports just in the last few weeks of further incursions into areas where civilians are and refugee camps, of more people being killed. Does this indicate to you that China is not doing enough, or perhaps that China's influence over events in far-off Africa might have been overstated?
No, it shows me that China's not doing enough. Chinese oil revenues, which now top $2 billion, the equivalent of $2 billion US dollars per year, some 70% of those oil revenues are used in the expensive business of attacking the people of Darfur. The purchase of sophisticated jets, bombers, attack helicopters, all manner of weapons, large and small, not only are purchased from China, but with Chinese money. And I don't believe that the government in Khartoum could continue to thumb its nose at the United Nations and the entire international community without the backing of a giant, and that giant is China. China on the Security Council.
Okay, what about the position, if I may just ask you this, the French government responding to what's been going on in Tibet says that it is considering a boycott, not a sporting boycott of the Olympics, but a boycott of the opening ceremonies. Would you support and call for that sort of symbolic boycott of the Olympic Games that doesn't actually affect competition?
Actually, yes. That's precisely what I'm calling for, and my organization is calling for. A boycott of the opening ceremonies and of the commercials. I will be broadcasting live from refugee camps throughout the Olympics, and we're going to ask people to switch over during the commercial breaks to hear the people from Darfur telling their stories.